I built a clock. I swear it's more interesting than it seems. Why would I do this? Just look at it. Does your clock look like this? That's right, it doesn't. Normal clocks are boring and aren't a source of anxiety because what if it just stops working for no reason? Or drifts off by a minute over the course of like 3 weeks?
But how does it work?
It counts seconds, that's it. When I first envisioned the idea back in August, the idea was to take ye old 555 timer and set it up such that it outputs a 1 Hz square wave, and then just hook up a bunch of counter circuits that count minutes, seconds, and hours, and then the display is just decoding what's in the counters. How hard can it be? Well, judging by the fact that it isn't August by a long shot, I'd say it's pretty hard, and I'll walk you through each part to show you why. The 555 timer is a cool little chip that uses a resistor-capacitor circuit to generate precisely timed pulses. Basically, a capacitor stores electric charges, and using a resistor we can control how quickly it charges and discharges, and by extension the size and frequency of the 555 timer's pulses. So I set up a 555 timer, and with careful math and careful adjustment, I got to output a square wave at exactly 1 Hz. Then I performed a long-term test of it, which worked quite well until air conditioning. The issue with this setup is that it is temperature sensitive, which means that when air conditioning is turned on, because sleeping in these summer nights is just impossible, the frequency deviates slightly, and that will cause the clock to drift off like a Nissan 240SX whose body panels are so mismatched that you'd think it was a 1996 Volkswagen Golf. Seriously, that's a thing that you could have bought in 1996 for some reason. Unable to fix this, I shelved the idea. Then I went to college, where some people who know much more than I do told me to use a crystal oscillator. I have no idea how it works, but it in fact does the thing. However, the main caveat is that 1 Hz crystals don't exist, so I had to take a 32,768 Hz one and tack on a few counters to step it down. That, however, was no big deal, since they were literally designed to be chained together like that. The idea behind the counters was similar to stepping the oscillator frequency down. Chain some counters together, 1 for seconds, tens of seconds, minutes, tens of minutes, and hours. The implementation, however, was complicated. For one, I made the mistake of getting binary counters, which count from 0 to 50 instead of 0 to 9. That's fine, I thought. Just make some logic gates to detect when the maximum is reached, whether it's 6, 10, or 12, and then when that happens, reset the counter and increment the next one. Nope. I struggled with this. Hard. It worked for a single counter, but when chaining it together, it just didn't work because of some timing gremlins. It became an inside joke among my friends that I'd never finish this project. As I started to lose hope and my schoolwork started to pile up, the unfinished clock just sat there, tormenting me. But then I had a revelation. What if instead of counting up from 0 to a predefined maximum and resetting there, we instead start at a predefined maximum and count down to 0, using the chaining mechanisms that it was designed with. I guess the timing was right on that for some reason, because that just worked. Once that was done, all the hard work was behind me, and all that was left to do was to decode the counters into a form that I can display on 7-segment displays, which are just 7 LEDs that I can power one by one. Which ones could have been determined by a mess of combinational logic, but instead I just used this electrically erasable programmable read-only memory, or EEPROM for short, to do the magic for me. It just took a bit of programming, and by a bit of programming, I mean why would anyone do this by hand? Are you mad? To which I would respond, maybe. Once that was done, the end result was just as you'd expect. Finicky and unstable. The crystal oscillator seemed to work, but when you connect the counters, it didn't. The square wave is wildly oscillating, or wildly deviating, or wildly modulating. Oh, you see that? The lows just got bigger, or smaller. What the hell is going on? In a last-ditch effort, I added some random-ass transistor, just for the heck of it. And that was an absolute success. Oh wow, that worked. With that said, setting it up is an adventure. Unless it is exactly 2 o'clock, I would have to artificially speed it up by moving up some wires. The fun part is that when I'm moving these wires, it can just jump up randomly, and that can kind of screw things up. After a few tries and some mysterious stoppages, I was clocking, or timing, or whatever verb you'd use for this situation. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you when I feel like uploading again.